Hello everyone. The Finternet update, Quant and Ripple XRP. What do we have? Well, before we jump into it, smash that like if you haven't done so already, and consider sticking to the end of the outline. There'll be chapters, but let's give you the new update, recent new updates. Yes, literally this month. So before we get into it, decent wallet helps the channel. Let's kick it to that. Get yourself a discount, not your keys, not your crypto.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
All right, welcome back. So with that said, let's take you over to this. This is from Smoke. Myself and a lot of other people do cite Smoke. So what does he have? Well, really cool to see some of his new research. And on your screen, you will see this. He talks about how XRP is at the center of the Finternet via Ripple's Interledger protocol, the ILP. Now, a lot of you guys do point out the whole thing of, there's the Interledger, there's the Overledger. Which one is going to do what? Well, we understand what both bring to the table. As we jump back into this, I want you guys to see that it's that Finternet vision. The BIS, as in the Bank for International Settlements, has this thing called a Finternet, seamlessly connecting the global financial network. Well, Ripple's role in the Finternet. Ripple is evolving into the Interledger protocol because many of its technological solutions now depend on ILP for cross-border payments. But even before all this, it's the whole thing of requirements for interoperability between various payment systems. So we get further into this, talks about the Internet of Value. We understand what Quant could bring to that as well. So it's that Internet of Trust. But again, XRP as the bridge asset, Ripple actively leverages XRP within ILP to facilitate liquidity and, of course, settlement. All right. So as we can see here, he gets a little bit more into the weeds of this, and I thought I would just bring up some of these illustrations for you all, for you can see some of these key concepts. What do we have? Well, let's zoom in, because when we get into this, Smoke talks about some things that we both have mentioned, and it's the whole thing of an API layer. Now, this one specifically mentions the Interledger protocol, so I wanted to put some emphasis on that. But again, unified ledger. What about a shared unified ledger? Unified ledger sits at the heart of the Finternet ecosystem, and again, a lot of emphasis on interoperability, but it's what's also immutable. Unified Ledger unifies all the blockchain networks using the Interledger protocol, which seamlessly operates between different networks and allows the exchange of digital assets, of course, among them. The bottom part talks about a digital wallet will hold all the digital assets of the user, such as decentralized identifiers, DID, verified credentials. Again, some of these areas don't get highlighted in regards to Quant, and that, of course, is where we bring in the whole thing of what? The over wallet. I want to kick it back to Channing and get your thoughts on this real quick, because a lot of times you pointed out, sir, how do you say Quant without saying Quant? Well, in my opinion, how do you say the over wallet without saying the over wallet, Mr. Channing?
Exactly. Just name all the characteristics that's associated with the over wallet, but not say that you're actually tapping into the over wallet so that you can promote to, I guess, your businesses or your clients that I can provide all of these wonderful, amazing services to you. And this is everything that's capable of me doing at this institutional grade, but yet the underlying tech stack is Overledger or over wallet or whatever the case may be, because due to non-disclosure agreements, we can't necessarily say this, that, or the other publicly just yet, which is kind of funny. It's like I said before, we're like even with like Visa and MasterCard, even UDPN, when you hear them talk about how their process is set up and how they can tap into multiple different currencies, it's like, how do you think that they're doing that? It's Overledger, of course. And we've already tied Quant to all of those entities and then some. So yeah, that's surefire way of saying quant without saying quant. Just describe everything that Overledger can do. Just don't say the word Overledger. It's quite funny to me. But know that there's back-end ties with these things, organizations, or protocols. So it's just, I kick it back to you, brother.
Well, with that said, we also have some of these other examples, and I want to give the ILP its flowers or credit where credit's due. This is good research, so a little bit more in regards to this. Understand, again, some of the key terminology here, because when we get again into the fundamentals of it, you see here, does XRP have just that interoperability? I mean, think about it. The answer is yes. How so? Ripple actively advocates for interoperability through ILP leveraging XRP. That's a win. Although XRP operates within the Ripple ecosystem, its interoperability, I should say, extends beyond Ripple's network. Partnerships, integrations with various financial institutions and payment platforms harness XRP's utility. As we get further into it, I want to point out some other key things with the findings. In the Finternet, again, Smoke doing it better than anybody as far as I'm concerned. XRPL via satellite. No need for the internet. Think about Elon Musk and what he's trying to accomplish with this whole thing of the Starlink satellites and what he's trying to do with the X platform. This is very appealing to somebody like him. And what do we see? February 5th. Come on, you guys, just a few days ago, Financial Ledger Applications Network using satellites directly into the XRPL. In the illustrations, we see that you have off-grid, radio networks, XRPL, VHF, UHF. I remember back in the days, hey, flip the channel. You got to get up off your butt and go and flip the channel for your pop, right? But this is different. And if anything, what about the next screen? Well, it gives you an idea of how it all comes together, right? And even in some of these illustrations, you see this user access terminal. We take it to this next part. I mean, are we really going to be using XRP? That's the question. But whatever the case be, a little bit more about this. I love this statement. Maybe you feel the same way. I keep wasting time trying to find the most important XRP news, and all I need to do is put Smoke Dog on the bell notification. Right. This is good stuff. Another update. Ripple is actively being integrated into Swift. Some people feel as though, no, it's not. But we'll show you some things. Third-party partnerships like EastNets and Ripple are key to enabling XRP to move across the Swift network as an ISO 222 compliant asset. EastNet's payment safe platform connects Ripple's blockchain tech with Swift. It's an ISO 222 compliant hub, allows seamless interoperability between blockchain solutions like Ripple and financial infrastructures like Swift. All right, well, what about XRP though? Well, like it says, integration enables XRP to act as a bridge currency. How many times over the last many years have we heard the concept of Ripple XRP being that world bridge currency? So is it going to facilitate cross-border payments through Swift's global network? Could very well be, but here's the key area. By using platforms like Payment Safe, financial institutions can benefit from Ripple's blockchain tech without disrupting their existing systems. Right. It's leveraging it all, right? Not necessarily replacing everything. So what do we have in regards to, again, some of this? Well, this is where Quant comes in. And I want you guys to see the visual. You may have already seen this, but there's a lot of new people. So what do we have? Well, Enterprise Operating System is Overledger. Interconnects blockchains, enterprise platforms, and networks. Interoperable. Connect any network to any network without overhead or limits. And again, what do you see on the list? Bottom middle emphasis will be even on some of the ones that we're familiar with. Public permissionless blockchains. Stellar, IOTA, which I think a lot of us are sleeping on it. I'm looking to DCA more into IOTA, so honorable mention. But while it's not financial advice, understand on the enterprise permission blockchains, you do see Ripple. Yeah, it's always been there. You also see R3 Corda, JPM Quorum, right? We're talking about JP Morgan here. And you even see Hyperledger. So that is definitely there, and it always has been. Multi-chain apps. understanding platform enterprise systems and their applications. So I take you to this next tab. I want you guys to see this as well. And this is not me agreeing necessarily that I think Quant's better than XRP. I have them both tied for my number one. But a lot of new people haven't seen the whole thing of how the XRPL is one network with the Interledger protocol as the standard connecting different payment networks, but Overledger instead, as Channing and myself and many others have pointed out, sits on top of all the nodes of all the connected blockchains as an abstraction layer. If you're new to this, understand and take away that with your key findings when it comes to your research of getting into Quant, because it enables an interconnected network of networks. How so? Listen to it from the horse's mouth, the one and only Gilbert Verdun, and after this, we'll kick it back to Mr. Channing Harrell here. Listen to this. Here we go.
Interledger protocol, ILP. How does that differ, this new effort, how does that differ from ILP? Because I think their goal was to try to bridge, networks through at least for the payments layer. And that was very simplistic bridging. How does this differ, or is it similar?
No, it's very different. So ILP is a peer-to-peer protocol for payments between different assets and different blockchains, doing hash time locks and whatever, and Ripple and Bitcoin are one of the early use cases, and that's good for a payment use case. But what we're doing is if you think of ILP as you're sending a message between you and your friend. It's the interaction between you two in terms of the two parties. What we're doing is at the core level, how does that one network have a gateway to understand and find resources to another network, which also has a gateway, and how do those networks talk to each other at the internet scale level? So think of it as border gateway protocol for money, and so BGP is quite a good technology, and it works. So we're creating the protocol and the methodology to find and identify networks. So with ILP, you're sending something from Ripple to Bitcoin, you know where they are. But on the internet scale, how do you know where that digital asset or the party B is that you want to send to? You need to find them. You need to find the route between the different networks to identify that digital asset. And how do you transact across those gateways? And so that's what we're tackling, which is much larger.
So with that said, much larger, tackling some of this, Mr. Channing. I mean, I think if anything, the Overledger will definitely even complement the ILP. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. Think about exactly what Overledger is. Of course, we talk about it all the time where, it connects all the blockchains to one another. But even going even deeper, that blockchain is made up of all of these nodes that are verifying and cracking codes and doing transactions, like on Bitcoin and so forth and so on. So to understand that it's not just a blockchain, but it also sits on top of all of the nodes, bringing all the nodes in the world into the same time zone, no matter what time zone it is on the actual blockchain. When coming into this space of interoperability, putting them all into the same time zone so that they can do seamless transactions globally, like the internet today, like the way we email today. It brings every email in the world into the same time zone, no matter if you're on Comcast or somebody else's internet service. All of the internets seamlessly integrate within the same time zone, whether you're here in America or are you in the UK or are you in China or Russia or whatever the case may be. Same situation. And going back to kind of sort of the whole, XRP thing, and the way they were talking about it, understand the reason that how XRP does have the interoperability is because Ripple, one of the main users of XRP, has the interoperability because they're tapping directly into Overledger. It's like I said in one of my other videos, is that you have to remember, if you're a company and you're tapping into Overledger, that gives you the capabilities of interoperability. So if I'm a smaller company now tapping into the underlying stack of the bigger company, now while I'm doing my transmissions through them, Now I actually have interoperability because that company is creating maps when I'm doing transactions with it. So it's almost like there's stair steps to this whole thing. But no matter if you're the smaller company or the larger company, you're going to be tapping into Overledger some way, somehow, whether it's indirectly through someone else's tech stack or directly because you have an account with Overledger itself. I just said that in one of my videos. So it's so much bigger, and I say this all the time, Overledger, so much bigger than crypto. You know, crypto, it has such a bad name, but to understand what blockchain / distributed ledger technologies is and the service that it's providing for the world, and then to understand that you have something like Overledger that is the king of the distributed ledger technologies because it literally is the fabric that connects all of them together. Like Gilbert said in one of the videos, we sit on top of all of the nodes on all of the networks. Think about what that is, and think about the power of Overledger and the tech savviness of Overledger to be able to seamlessly speak to any language of code and to be able to compute it to where any other language can literally transmit it and understand it and then kick it back out what needs to be done on their end. That's an incredible, incredible piece of technology. And to know that that is their software as a service, which means that this is the software that they are providing and selling to their customers. It's incredible. But go ahead, brother. I kick it back to you.
Definitely is incredible. But let's talk about some of that big money. As you guys saw, obviously in the thumbnail, this is an update in regards to Ripple XRP, Quant, and the whole concept of the Finternet. So when we talk about the Finternet, that's a lot of money. Well,
billions, trillions, sorry.
No, it's okay. Exactly. So let's get into what we have in regards to that, and let's pull that up. So what we see right here is, again, shout out to some of these particular gentlemen. This is going to be Knowledge Up Only, and he has this, and I think it's definitely worth pointing out. So let's get into this for just a brief moment. Let's give you guys some examples. Trillions on Overledger, just one country. Yeah, what about the world? All right, some of you guys can't fathom the whole idea of quadrillions, but I think this is worth pointing out. Blockchain could help the United Kingdom's 14.5 trillion payment sector, says Trade Group. Trade Group, if you're not aware of it, is UK finance, who hails them as having experiments on the Regulated Liability Network, the RLN, as a success, but call for further talks with regulators to develop the system. And how long ago did he post this? February 5th, this year. Again, this is an update. So some people feel as though this is one partition, Overledger, with the whole thing of SATP. We kind of been there and done that. Shout out to Construction Trader East. He points out some of these things. But, you know, again, I think this is worth getting into when we talk about some of this. So we did mention Construction Trader East. What does he have? Well, he mentioned a while back that Johnny Fry, the head of digital asset strategy at Clearbank, was basically talking here in regards to the amount of money coming on chain and the importance of programmability. You know how many people are still saying that, you know, can we get to $10? Can we get to 100? And so on before we start talking about this big money. Understand that regulations, when they're finally passed and mandates are finally here, that's the next big stepping stone. So is it really, is it quadrillions? Like he says, not even trillions, quadrillions. Remember, Clearbank and Quant work alongside each other in the Digital Pound Foundation. Listen to this. This is Johnny Fry from Clearbank. I think it's important to point him out. Listen to this. We'll come right back.
Okay, so I think one of the things worth bearing in mind is the relatively small size of the crypto market. It's today about 2.4 trillion. It's just turned over. If you look at the numbers on CoinGecko, about 100 billion. 70% of that turnover is stablecoins. So this is clearly, in a very small market, something which is a lot of interest to people involved in that space. And we bank a number of crypto companies that are regulated, and that's what we do. So if you're a crypto company, you're regulated, you're in the UK, then please come and talk to us. But it's actually the bigger part of the pie that we're interested in the sense that if crypto's, say, 2.5 trillion, if you look at the equity, bond, funds, real estate, and derivatives market, that's 2.2 quadrillion. And nearly all those assets have three payments. One, you put money in. Second, you take money out. But whilst it's in, there are these things called distributions, dividends, coupons, bond, interest, which is payable. And as we start to see, and Daniela was talking about this in terms of mentioned Franklin Templeton, but Franklin Templeton isn't alone. We're seeing a number of very, very large asset management companies, BlackRock, Aberdeen Standard, Amundi, and there's a number coming out in the next 3 or 4 months, and they're digitizing, tokenizing their money market funds. Now, money market funds in this country are relatively small, 50 billion. In Europe, they're about 1.7 trillion. In the States, they're about 6 trillion. So as an asset class, they're about $9 trillion. That's 4 times the size of the crypto market. And as they start to digitize, they're going to be making these payments on a much, much more frequent basis. So instead of making distributions on a 6-monthly basis, they're going to go to monthly, as indeed BlackRock have just recently announced on their institutional money market fund, and then potentially going to go weekly. And it's that time that you're going to start seeing a requirement for programmability. And that's probably the key word I'd use at the moment with our clients. They're looking to be able to take out, if you like, the human interaction involvement. And they want pre-programmed payments to be made, which is just very, very difficult to do with traditional sort of banking rails. But we're not saying the wholesale switch out of, if you like, the fiat banking rails, but it's very much seeing a digital twin being created alongside traditional banking, which is what we are, a traditional UK clearing bank, but to give the tools and services that our clients, who, as you correctly said, businesses, they're looking to build in new products and new ways to have a stronger, more control, better compliance regime by having that programmability.
Channing, he said programmability. We know that Quant has the whole thing of programmable money. He was talking about, again, some of the other key highlights about what the UK is looking to do. You know, again, another example of how do you say Quant without saying Quant, but we already know that Quant is working with Clearbank. Your brief thoughts on this before we jump into some more about this update.
Okay, absolutely. How do you say Quant without saying Quant? First off, going back to the UK and Quant's ties to the UK, we already know, like we've said before, their ties to the UK government and already providing technology for the UK government with G Cloud 13, G Cloud 12, and possibly G Cloud 14. Okay, we've already talked about that. Now understand that you saw that article from UK Finance about that 13 or 17 trillion, however many trillion that was, but understand that Quant was officially ingrained into the UK's financial system under UK Finance about a year and a half ago. Then couple that with them being a part and the technology provider for the RLN, which is another major initiative coming out of the UK as well. So it's a very strong possibility you're talking about lots of trillions of dollars just from that literally piece of the world alone flowing through Overledger. Now touching base on what the guy from Clearbank said so people could really understand, think about that. Each transaction at this point in time sitting in Web 2 gets 3 transactions. The buy, whatever processing is happening, whether it's dividend payments or whatever, and then the sale of that treasury, that bond, that whatever the case may be. And that's usually that the dividends normally I believe on like an annual basis. Now think about the web of Web 3, the RAM, of Web 3, and understand kind of sort of like my crypto.com account. They pay me weekly. So now understand that once these assets start to be tokenized and you have all of these major players who hold hundreds, if not millions, if not billions of dollars in some of these certain asset classes being tokenized now and have the capability of now receiving payments weekly on the money that's being held in escrow. Think about the transactional value that's going to be flowing through not just Overledger, but Web 3, period. And that's literally just one sector. That's just whatever the market he was talking about. That's just one sector. Now think about that. You could put that on multiple different banks because banks are getting ready to, SOB 121 was overturned. So banks they have the capability, once everything gets settled, to start custodying crypto. And I'm more than sure that custody of crypto is going to come with some type of, we hold your crypto, we pay you this. And they're going to have to be competitive to what's going on in the DeFi market. So if they're getting paid weekly in the DeFi market, you're going to be getting your weekly dividends via your bank. All set on smart contracts, set and forget. That is the reason why it is so important that this AI and crypto working so closely together in this particular space and time as we are building out the future of finance, and as we talk about the foundation of digital finance, Overledger, and their role in it, it's nothing to just look over. Like people, like I tell people about this stuff, and they'll be like, oh, okay. Like, don't inquire anything else about it. Don't ask any questions. Don't. It's like, did anything I just say not click? It didn't, say, well, how can I, or when can I, or nothing. It job nothing for you. It bewilders me. But to understand that if you're looking at this video and you're tapping into Maximus, you're tapping into myself, you're coming to the X Spaces with Sebastian and Mind Crypto from time to time. My bro Mind, thank you for coming back out with another video. You rock, brother. It is the opportunity of a lifetime to literally be sitting at a place to where we are seeing, literally roll out in front of our eyes, financial infrastructure being laid, and to understand that you can own a small piece of the network that is facilitating these things by holding things like XRP, by holding things like XLM, by holding things like Quant and HBAR, so IOTA, XDC, so forth and so on. These ISO tokens that are literally codifying, helping to codify law and build structure financially for countries. That's it's crazy. But I'll kick it back to you, brother. Go ahead.
Well, that was well said, to say the least. I don't have nothing else to add to that, but I'm going to rapid fire through some of this because I want you guys to see, again, some of the new updates that we have. So we're going to now take you over to some of this, and then we'll get Channing's final thoughts at the end. And again, some of this is going to be kind of rapid fire, but you got to take this in. So let's get into that. Let's pull up this, and some of you guys have asked or said, like, there's no way QNT can get to some of these particular prices. Let's give you some examples just briefly on how that can be done. I loved this tweet. It came out in December, but it still pounds home everything even today. So let's pull this up. This is from a new person that I'm following. His name is Mosef. He says, so you're telling me that after all this price action, QNT is still only 2.3 billion market cap, again, at that time. Coins like XRP, HBAR, Tron, and BNB are doing more than that in volume. Imagine once the volume hits the billions. Well said. So if you think $1,000 QNT isn't realistic, you need to be checked. And what's he talking about here? Well, let's, again, pull it up on the other screen, because sometimes you just need, need to see it. Seeing is believing. So what does he have? Well, in the illustrations that's highlighted, look at your Hedera H bars, right? Look at your XRPs. Look at your Quant, all right? And roughly speaking, I mean, yeah, Quant was up 158.51 at that point, and now we're at roughly $85, $86, but it's a great example about that. Sometimes you just need to simply see it. As I take you to the next part, shout out to our brother in the community, San NL. I haven't cited him for a while. He can be followed over at San NL11. Imagine having access to trillions of payments per year utilizing Oracle technology. Again, Oracle, big time in the news. Not just the whole thing of Jasmine, but also with Quant Project, right? Stargate 2025. Call it another update if you want. What do we have here, and why is it important? Well, I think this is big enough. As you see here, Oracle applications originate trillions of payments per year. Also goes on to mention large-scale payment systems on Oracle include Swift, Pay UK, China Union Pay. By the way, we've done those connections about China Union Pay and who. Yeah, you better believe it. Some of the new recent people who have joined over at the Quant network. And you see some of these other ones literally listed. Barclays, HSBC. We know about Citibank and Quant. We know about HSBC and Ripple XRP. We know about some of the other ones, obviously. But the point is, seeing how Sam mentions that Overledger is the only interoperability solution they certify for Oracle blockchain platform. That definitely makes it stand out according to the Juniper research. And again, how so? Even when we go further into it from Juniper, it mentions specifically in the research this key highlight. And what is it? Talks about how Oracle plans for interoperability between Hyperledger Fabric and other DLT technologies. Right, Hyperledger doesn't have a coin. It's a technology, but Overledger has updates in regards to Hyperledger Fabric. Also, on the top right, this is great catch from Juniper Research. When it comes to cross-ledger integrations, we have certified a partner solution from Overledger, from Quant Network. Boil that, mash that, stick it in a stew. Once we get into a little bit more about this, I'm not going to play this because I played this in the past. I think it's a great comment. Dates back to last year, but trillions are coming, and soon everything in finance will be tokenized. How? Regulations have to come, everybody. That's the key thing. The same thing will happen with SATP, Secure Asset Transfer Protocol. Make sure you're ready. Are you ready? Or are you going to come into this when it's at incredibly high value and then FOMO in? I don't think that is the right recipe. All right, I want to quote this, and you will see an end screen video, music video, call it whatever you want, that will tie in all of this. The 1983 boom of the internet. Look at what it says. Refers to the moment when the ARPANET standardized was on the TCP/IP protocol on January 1st, 1983. Why is that significant? It's because that marked the birth of the modern internet as we know it, everybody, allowing different computer networks to communicate with each other using a universal language. All right, what about the whole thing, and I'll come back into the frame for a moment, about a universal messaging standard? And what about Quant with the Overledger being the conveyor through its own standard of ISO TC 307? I'm telling you flat out, so many people are sleeping on the whole concept of when Channy and I get into the weeds, and it's not just us, about standards. You get tired of hearing us talk about standards, but understand that they have the standard for building on a blockchain. They are the foundation for digital finance. And when you see this and see that it blossomed from 1983 and getting into the mid-90s, and especially when I got exposed to the internet finally in 95 with Windows 95, understand that that was Web 1. And look where we're at now. And look at where we're going here in the near future for programmable money. Take it to this next part real quick. I want you guys again to understand why we take the deep dives. When is the ISO 222 mandate? March 10th, 2025. But it's not just that. It's understanding that it's an explanation of universal digital language for financial services. See how the terminology is literally the same? Yes, because 1983 was the original fundamental moment for the access to information. Now we're going to the next era of all this. And as I take you to the next part of information age, I want you guys to understand that when they measured the modeling for information, that revolution in itself, understand that there was big things that happened. And does it mention the United States? It does. It talks about back in 1962, a book that's referred to as Production and Distribution and Knowledge in the United States, claimed that the knowledge industry represents 29% of U.S. gross national product. And we saw evidence for the information age and how it began or begun. But the key thing here is understanding the exponential growth. Recent estimates have reached the following results. The world's technological capacity to receive information through one-way broadcast networks grew at a sustained compound annual growth rate of 7% between 1986 and 2007. The world's technological capacity to store information grew at a sustained compound annual growth rate of 25% between 1986 and 2007. The world's effective capacity to exchange information through two-way telecommunications networks grew at a sustained compound annual growth rate of 30% during the same 2 decades. And finally, the world's technological capacity to compute information with the help of humanly guided general purpose computers grew at a standard or sustained compound annual growth rate of 61% during the same period. Now, here's the point I'm trying to make in regards to this. I want you guys to understand that so many of you guys, and I see you guys do this in the comments, and I understand people get impatient, but for me, I'm willing to be more patient when it comes to this because I understand that we are on the cusp of something really, really big. But to get to these great big price evaluations, you do need to see that utility put into motion, and you do need to see some of these things take off. But we're not there yet. People get frustrated. Understand that, can you imagine all the frustration of early investors when it came to the concept of an internet and where we went from there as society adapted some of these services and so on when it came to the early stages of the internet and where we're going with Web 3. Before we wrap it up, I want you guys to see again some of the other key dates, and that is this, the big date. We finally have a date. It's not just November 2025. We have a specific date, and that is what I've been talking about for years now, and that is November 22nd, 2025, in my opinion. Call it buy the rumor, sell the news. I could be wrong, but whatever the case be, all roads point to this. It's that mandate for cross-border bank-to-bank payment instructions and how they take effect then. This is the end of the coexistence period of MT messages with ISO 222. What does it mean? After November 22nd, 2025, all payment instruction messages must be in ISO 222 format. This includes messages for cross-border payments and cash reporting. All banks are connected to SWIFT and need to access the new central platform using ISO 222 messaging and APIs. Think about that. So for me, how do you tackle both? Well, you get into Ripple XRP. You get into the things like Quant, right? Because we understand how both play a key role in all of this. And here's another update. January 22nd, 2025 from SWIFT marks the whole thing of market practice guidelines for the adoption of Chinese commercial code. Interesting to see some of this. Why is that important? Well, even above it, market guidance. And as we get further into it, when you open up the PDF, it talks about harmonization. And we know when it comes to Quant, how do they harmonize this? Again, through their own standard. As it says, market practice implementation guidelines in order to ensure common implementation of ISO 222 for the agreed payment use cases. The work complements ISO 222 harmonization initiative, HVPS plus and CBPR plus. Both of those things are mentioned multiple times on the Quant network site. And harmonization is a one-on-one search on this 43-page PowerPoint presentation. And look at this. This gets even better. Remember I mentioned the whole thing about China? Well, look at this. To mitigate the risk and improve processing efficiency, banks from China, mainland, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau, and Singapore adopted various marketplace practices, including the use of Chinese commercial codes, CCC, to represent precise Chinese characters and cross-border payment instructions. Okay, I don't get it, Max. Guess what? That's okay. Because when you get further into it, remember how we talked about Quant Network and Fastnet Limited? Network Limited? Yes. And those key patents and how they're no longer pending and how they are now active. And just in case you're new, when we interpret it from Chinese, we get Gilbert Verdian, Colin Patterson, Paulo Tesca, Quant Network. And just in case, if you're not watching the other previous videos, is the status active? It is. When does it expire? 2040, and they can always update that. Before we wrap this up, ISO 222 Harmonization Initiative, global effort to standardize how institutions exchange messages and, of course, data, cited from SWIFT. And before we, again, kick it over to Channing, what about Ripple and Quant together? How does Ripple and Quant Network create a global effort to standardize cross-border payment messaging and data exchange by utilizing blockchain tech? Well, you have to keep in mind that both provide a platform where banks can send and receive payment instructions securely and efficiently across borders, often using shared digital assets like XRP in the case of Ripple to facilitate currency conversions with greater liquidity. But you need that interoperability to leverage existing technologies and that bridge from the traditional financial sectors to the new stuff. Enter in things like Quant. And again, interoperability. So both of these play a huge factor moving forward. And again, this RippleNet and Overledger will facilitate seamless communication and data exchange between the various financial institutions across borders and eliminate the need for multiple intermediaries because they become the new standard. They become the new intermediary. And last but not least, this is your icing on the cake. Update from who? The World Bank. Everybody felt as though it was only Stellar and, for example, Ripple mentioned from the World Bank. What about the World Bank mentioning Quant? Yes, as I take you to this, look at this. On page 18 of 62, it mentions specifically Internet of Value, ensuring integrity of value transfer in blockchains, and how there is a problem. How do you have a solution? It says that you need to create interoperability among different blockchains at the middleware level. Think about that. For example, blockchain agnostic smart contracts, and for example, digital asset holdings or quant networks multi-blockchain dApps, aka maps. Interesting to see that. And if anything, Shanny, I know I kind of took a lot of that, brother, but I wanted to bring it to everybody, and I wanted to get your key thoughts with all the boom, boom, bang, bang, with all the new recent updates. China in the mix with it all. Ripple and Quant network, to say the least, and these ISO tokens, I think, if anything, when we finally get these mandates, people are going to have their heads spin, to say the least. Your closing thoughts.
Okay, so yes, you did go over a lot. But going back to something earlier in that, Oracle. Understand we've already tied Oracle to Quant, right? And understand that Oracle is a part of, Quant is a part of Oracle's underlying tech solution, right? For their blockchain service. So the other day I was doing some house cleaning and I hear an ad on YouTube. And what is it for? It's for Oracle Blockchain Solutions. And I just said in my mind, I was like, oh, Quant. How many people or how many companies that are going to be tapping into Oracle Blockchain Solutions? And when they paying their fee to Oracle, now understand that a part of their fee is whatever process through Overledger that they're actually doing, also doing whatever transaction they're doing with Oracle as far as their blockchain solutions are concerned, because we've already tied Quant into that directly, right? Now, jumping over to the adoption part, understand this, how the adoption of digital currencies and digital assets are going to eclipse in ways that we've never seen. And it's because you now have more people with the internet right in their hand and right in their pocket. Go back 20, 30 years, that was something that wasn't even fathomable. And now everyone has a smartphone. I was out and about and I was having a conversation with a young lady from India. And I have to think about how large the population is in India. It's one of the largest countries in the world, if not the largest, one of the largest, right? Modi's doing great things as far as the progression of India. But she was saying, had you told me 5 years ago that my 70-year-old mother would be using her phone, scanning QR codes and sending payments seamlessly, I would have never thought that was even possible. Now understand, as this gets adopted more and more and more globally, what that's going to mean for transactions through these systems that are laying critical infrastructure like Overledger and your other ISOs. Understand what that means, that literally people will have the power of banking right in the palm of their hand, 24 hours a day, 365, from every level of banking, whether that's your institutional banking and where it's more large investments, all the way down to somebody like me or you paying for our groceries or paying our rent. All of it tapping into Web3. And you say, well, how's it going to happen? Think about it. Right now, you have a banking app. And once that banking app does an update, what do? You just hit the update button. So when your banking app actually updates and it is now associated with Web3 in some way, or you have a digital wallet somewhere and you have to do an update so you can keep going on the app or stay up with the current or Android's tech stack, you're going to do an update. Now, you may not know that this update is dealing in a realm of Web3, but you just did it. And now your next payment is going to be on the rails of Web3. It's going to be something as simple as that. That is the reason why you have It's when you talk about that flip of the switch or things of that nature, it's not going to be like, oh, we're just going to move everything over to Web3. No, that's going to take time. That may even take decades. But what will be is that coexisting period where you now have these major institutions tapping into things like Quant, tapping into things like XRP and XLM, giving them now the capabilities to be able to seamlessly integrate those processes into their tech stack for their clients, i.e. the regular person, you and I, okay? The last part about that, what was the last thing that you were just going over? Oh, the ISO mandate. Understand what that means and understand that November now we have a date, 22nd of 2025, and don't think it's just going to be November 22nd. Everything's just boom. No, but understand that that is critical, another piece of critical infrastructure, another piece of the roadmap laid in place. And to understand that that's going to happen in November, and you just had like this blockchain thing go on here in America with the president and several members of Congress, and they're talking to have some type of framework and signed off by the president within 6 months or so. All of this is literally harmonizing and lining up perfectly together so that when certain mandates happen and we leave out of that system, as far as the old messaging standard and the new messaging standard coexisting side by side, and now we're transitioning completely to that new messaging standard. I want to say one of the you have to be able to receive them by March, and you have to be able to send them by October. I believe that's their timeline for like some of the things in the UK and here in America. Understand that they're literally lining themselves up so that they can start operating in this space. If you think DeFi is big for us with a couple hundred or a couple thousand or maybe even 100,000, you have stakes somewhere, understand what DeFi is going to mean for you. Not only you have banks custodying hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of these assets for their clients. Understand what that means as far as the dividend, as they call it, which is going to be paid out, and understand how these things are on smart contract or programmable payments, which means that it takes that human element out of it. You on a smart contract AI, when this happens, make sure this happens, period, point blank. When this happens, fund this wallet. When this happens, fund that wallet. Whatever the case may be, understand the transactions that are going to be flowing through these systems. Understand what mass adoption truly means. And it's not like the awakening of, oh, everybody knows about crypto and Web3. No, it's just like the mass adoption of the internet. You don't know how the internet works, but you get on it every single day, and you literally, it touches every fabric, whether it's your personal life, your work life, your private life, it doesn't matter. The internet touches it some way, somehow. And it's exactly what Web3 is going to be, and it's not going to take that 1983 to 1996. No, because once it becomes fabrics of the underlying tech stacks of companies that you already use every single day, that adoption is going to go like that, because you won't even realize you're using it. But only thing you know is that they're telling you it's safe, it's resilient, it's trusted, and it's future proof. This is the solution to the current problem that we sit in, and you're going to eat it up like hotcakes. So with that being said, brother, I kick it back over to you.
Well said, my friend. And, I realize I did dominate that, so my apologies.
You're good, brother. Good.
All right. Well, thank you.
Like I told you all the time, student. Sorry, teacher, student, brother. I'm learning right alongside of you, so I'm good.
Well, I still teach part-time. But anyway, whatever the case be, we do thank you guys. Thank you for, staying the course with this. And just do us a favor, you listen to the entire outline, because we do appreciate the feedback, and simply type this into the comments, and that is hotcakes, and we'll know that you listen to the entire outline. On behalf of myself and Shanny, know what you have, know where you hold it. The research trumps fell at 110%.
On crime side, the New York Times side, staying alive was no jive, and secondhand moms down stole old man. So then we moved to Shaolin Land. Your block and the go-to logos. Only way I think in the G off is juggling. And let's start it like this, son. Rolling with this one and that one. sensation made my eyes bleed. No question, I would go up and try to get the dough, sticking up white boys and ball courts. My life got no better, same damn low, swear the times is rough and tough like leather. Figured I went the wrong route, so I got wheels that go click and went all out, catching keys from cross seas, rolling in MPVs. Every week we made 40 G's. Your brother respect my. On here go the Tech 9. Check, check, pow. Who from the gate now? Cash rules everything around me. Screen R-E-A-M. Get the money, dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Cash rules everything around me. Screen R-E-A-M. Get the money, dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Cash rules everything around me. Screen R-E-A-M. Get the money, dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Cash rules.
Hey guys, I just want to point out something real quick in regards to Uphold with you guys. A lot of you guys are familiar with Uphold or heard about it, but if you're brand new to all this and don't have an account, basically there's some benefits. It benefits me, it benefits you. This is a win-win. But one thing I want to point out to really pound it home with Uphold is, for example, XDC. As we know, with XDC, a lot of us have to jump through the hoops of like KuCoin, use a VPN to kind of get around things. This is American-based exchange with Uphold. You don't have to do that. You can get your XDC here, and yeah, not having to deal with that is a great thing. You could also get XRP here. Again, American-based exchange. There's a refer and earn. Bottom line is, if you deposit $100, I get 20, you get 20. It's a win-win for both of us. And of course, that's in BTC, but again, you can swap that to any of these particular altcoins. So check it out. Links are in the description if you would like to take advantage of the 20. And yeah, a win for both of us. How cool is that? Links in the description, both on the live and on the recorded. Thanks, guys. Over and out.